Okay, so once you do the search, you're gonna have a tracker and it's gonna look like this. And we're gonna assign you some drawings. So basically, you just go here to the SAP number, and in this case, it's 1051. But the one that I'm gonna show y'all is 206. So this is gonna be the typical case for the CAD drawings, for the AutoCAD drawings. So you're gonna have all these files, and you're gonna wanna compare, because it looks like there's a CAD file here, and it's from November 13th, 2020. You're gonna wanna compare that with all these files here and make sure that's the most recent one. And once you extract it, you should be able to work. But in some cases, there's going to be a PDF of design drawings that's going to be a little bit newer. In this case, they're the same date, so it's not going to matter. And usually when you have the CAD files, you're going to have the floor plans, but you're probably not going to have the interior elevations. So you're going to either want to go into the construction drawings, which are down here, to import that PDF into your CAD file so that you can do the interior elevations. So let me show you all an example of that. So this is what your template's going to look like. In the training documentation folder, CAD training folder, this is what that looks like. So you go into your R drive, projects, T-Mobile, then emerging project layout, display rollout on you, and then you're just going to search for your project here.
Yeah, so I can elaborate that on a little bit. What we tried to do last week was download some of these files already, but what we found is that it's really inconsistent. We weren't to download. So like Mervyn said, I think you want to go, even if you find files in here, start with T-Builder and see what's available there. That way you're making sure that you have the appropriate documents and you kind of compare them, right? But once you do that, like that's where you save everything, like we talked about in the existing drawings folder. So I showed them where to save the files. I did not go through that training folder though that you were talking about with all of your CAD templates and stuff. So that would be good to show them. That way they know where to copy all the files from and throw it into their drawings folder.
And this is what they look like. The first one is the T-Vision training. This is our playbook that we got from T-Mobile. And it's just going to have a overview of the project, but you're going to use this more for reference purposes. Okay, so basically what we're doing is we're replacing their old fixtures with this new T-Vision fixture, and this is what that looks like. There's going to be a different piece of equipment that they're going to be replacing depending on what the layout is. And basically it's going to go through, and down here there's going to be a placement recommendation for the fixture that they want to replace. So in this case, it's M61 FW502 for the RMC layouts. And the layout for your project you can also get from the tracker right here under site design. So these are all the layouts, and basically based on which project you're assigned, you can find which layout you're going to be using and which piece of equipment you're going to be replacing.
So does that make sense, guys? Like when you start a project, you need to reference this PDF and that Excel file to see what type of existing store layout you have. Could be MDC, could be Evolution, but that'll really help you identify per your layout where that one fixture is that you're going to be switching out, because it changes between RMC and MD20 and stuff like that. But that information will be on that Excel file.
And if you have any questions, I put together this document here, and it's called CAD T-Vision Procedure. And it's basically what I'm going to be going through right now with some slight variations, because I made this document before we found all these roadblocks and variations within the drawings themselves. But for the most part, it's a good go-to just if you're confused about the procedure on how to do things, and there's some helpful links in here as well. So as I mentioned previously, the CAD drawings are going to be in this drawing folder. In this procedure, I put a description of what all the files are. So the fixtures, T-Vision.dwg is just a block library that they use. So if you need to get any labels or any of their fixtures, you can reference that. The demolition plan is their sheet file for the first sheet. The fixture plan is the second sheet. The interior elevations is the third. The X base is actually the overlay of the base plan, while the E base is technically your base what you would traditionally think of as your base plan. And this 24 by 36 is going to be their title block. So that's all going to be here under training materials, CAD training, drawings. And you're going to want to copy these into your drawings file for your project. So for this project, you're going to want to go in drawings and then copy all that here and then rename it appropriately. So back to AutoCAD. So this is that eBase file that I talked about. There's going to be some existing line work here. It's just kind of like an example. So you can go ahead and either get rid of this or move it out of the way. And in this case, for 206F, we already have CAD files for it. So go into survey, existing drawings, and they had a zip file with CAD files already there. You're going to open the base file actually. So this is what that looks like. Copy their base plan, and then put it in your template for the XE base, roughly in the same place. So the layers should be correct, but if you need to match layers, there's a layer table on the side here that you can do match properties. In this case, they most likely are. So on this, all you need to do is erase that. You're going to find that in some cases, you're going to have these dynamic blocks. Sometimes it's just going to be regular line works, and sometimes they're just standard blocks. But in all cases, what you're going to do is you're going to want to either turn off or delete their fixture labels here. But in this case, it's a dynamic block. So you just click it, click the triangle, change it to existing, and it deletes it. This one's pretty simple. In some cases, you're going to find that it's going to be a little bit more complicated than this, but basically that's all you do for the XEBase file. And then you move on to the XBase file, which is this one up here. For this one, as you see with the example, basically all we're doing is we're placing the T-Vision fixture, just copying and pasting it over here. Actually, let me take a step back. So to determine which fixture you're going to be replacing, in this case, you're going to go into their PDF, and first you're going to reference their T-Vision training. So it's MDC. So you go into that PDF, the playbook, MDC. So the recommendation is the M62.FW503, and then just go into their PDF. Just do a search for M62. Sorry guys, this went much smoother the last time.
No worries. We'll have 2 recordings. So I think this is probably good because each one is going to be slightly different anyway. So, I think the overall task, guys, is to switch out one equipment piece, but the hardest part is just finding the latest files to start with, right? And then figuring out which piece that is. So we do need some critical thinking in this process. So.
Okay. Yeah, this one's actually one that I had a question about. That's why, because they had 2 of the same fixtures. But basically for this one, I replaced this one here since it was FW102. And that's going to be this one here.
Yeah, there will be some where we just have to take our best guess. And I agree with you on that one, right? Because it seems to be the placement of so many others that are the same type of job. So that makes sense. So let me ask you, so is this a MD20?
Yes.
Okay, in that playbook that they gave us, if you refer to that, do they say closest to the entrance left or right? Do they specify which side?
Let's see.
Yeah, let's check that out. That way they know kind of how to field some of these questions.
It just says replace existing fixture FW102 times 2.
M06.
But we had 2 of those, and they're both like equidistant from the entrance.
Yeah, and it looks different on theirs as well. Do you see? Like that wait, let's see, replace existing graphics, with, I see, so the preferred A isn't available.
Yes.
So we're choosing B, and B is not highlighted. Is it on the next sheet? Is there like a highlighted preference for B? No. Damn.
No, it's
Okay.
just there.
So that's a good question. Yeah, I think that's kind of one of those things where we're just not going to know till we submit one or we ask fee, like you said. But considering they're like equidistant, I think I would choose the one on, like the one down, just because.
Yeah, that's the one that I chose.
Right, just because that's similar to some of the other stores, right, and other store layout types. That makes sense. Okay. Good question. We're gonna have to ask.
Okay, so this is the fixture that's going to be replaced. So what you're going to want to do is put it on this A fixed D layer. And it should come in dashed if you zoom in. Then you're going to want to save, reload the XP base. And then what you're going to want to do is place the T-Vision at the same point where the old fixture was. So in this case, we're going to use this one. Snap the middle to the middle of this. Okay, that should be good. And then the last thing that we have to do is we're going to put this NIC hatch, which is this, which is for not in contract, over the whole interior of the store, except for around where our new T-Vision fixture is going to be. So what you're going to want to do is just draw. This one's nice and simple. So actually just snap to the interior walls of the building. Then you're going to want to do a boundary hatch, BH. Then you're just going to want to match their example here. And just highlight the area around where your work area is going to be. And that's going to be not in contract. All right, so moving on, I'm going to save, then move on to your demo plan. First thing you're going to want to do is reload. And on this drawing, everything that you're going to have to place is going to be on the side here. So it's going to be these NIC labels, this keynote number 1, and it's going to point to the demo piece of equipment. And this they provided for us because sometimes the label for the demoed equipment doesn't show up. Like this is what it looks like, and it looks like there's some missing lines, so you just place that over it. And then these NIC labels, just space them out appropriately. Like so, and that's all you need to do for this one. And this is the demolition plan. Moving on to the fixture plan, same deal. Everything that's on the side here is everything that you need to place. You're going to want to reload your X-space. And first thing is you're going to want to use these dimensions that they provided to show that it's centered in between the next fixture next to it and the edge of the wall. Then you're going to want to add these keynotes. And again, everything is broken down in this procedure. So if you need to ever go back and run for something, you can check here. So one's going to point to the monitor, and two is going to point to this power and data port. So you're just going to show that. So one points to the monitor. Two is going to point to the power and data port. Change that to 2. And make sure that these are showing up on top of the fixture instead of behind it, because sometimes it'll show up behind it, but in this case, it's showing up correctly. So I usually just type in draw order, but there's several ways to do it. And then put it in the front. And the last thing that you need to do is put in your elevation tag. And it looks like this one's oriented the right way. Sometimes it'll be, and you need it to go up. So you would just mirror it if that was the case. In case this is the right way. Okay. So moving on, In most cases, when there's CAD files, there's not going to be a elevation file, so you're going to want to dig into possibly the construction documents. So in this case, there wasn't a CAD elevation. So when you open up this template, see they have all these drawings, but they don't have, or this one actually does have the elevations. So this is the fixture that we're replacing. So it's going to be the B1 elevation. And this is how you extract a single PDF. You just right click, just in case you don't know. Extract pages, current page. Best practice, you usually save this in the project folder, but for these purposes, I'm just going to save it here. Then you're going to want to go into your CAD drawing, go to Insert, PDF Import, and find your PDF here. And make sure that you have these settings. Make sure that Create Object Layers is checked and that Solid Fills is unchecked, because usually the default is this is checked. So just make sure that this is all looking like this. And you change the scale. It's quarter scale, so just change this to 48, and then it should come in like that. Then you want to get your elevation line work. It's here. And then basically you're going to match what I have in the layers of this example that we have right here. Or first you're going to want to delete all this extra stuff, because we don't want that. And then you're going to go through and just match the line work there. And this is the equipment that we're replacing. So we're just going to erase this. And this is the T-Vision fixture block. And I'm just going to want to copy this in place of where the equipment was. So it should line up at the top of this wall here. And in most cases, you're going to want to replace their dimensions with the ones they have here. Just get it to match what this example is. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but that's basically the gist of this elevation piece. And when you go out to the sheet, the color is supposed to be 175, 175, 175. I already fixed that, so you don't have to worry about this detail. So that's it for that's pretty much it. Oh, the title block, my bad. So this is the title block. And what you're going to want to do is check to make sure that we have the rogue logo here and the address. In some cases, it's going to be blank here, but just double check. And then you're going to want to put the site location, and it's going to be T-Mobile. And then the second line is going to be the address. And you can get the address from T-Builder. It's usually the top line right here. Just copy and paste that in. Then you're going to want to put the date and then your initials here. And then update the SAP number. So that should do it as far as the CAD work. So Maya, do you have anything else?
Not at the moment. I think, are you going to roll through PDFs as well? Or have you already done that?
No, I haven't. But I did that for the elevation.
That's true.
And the procedure for that's going to be pretty similar for the fixture plan.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
So then we're pretty much done, huh? Okay, then yeah, I think I'm gonna pull up, if you're done, I'll share my screen.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. So guys, when you're done and you PDF and plot, did you show them how to do that, Mervin?
Oh,
Like
no,
where
I
the
didn't
plot,
actually.
okay, all right, we'll go back through that. So we'll show you guys how to plot really quickly as well, just so that you know, it's different in every office, but you'll know where to find the plot styles and stuff like that. I'm going to open up some of the ones that Mervin's already done. I'll download them really quickly so that you guys can see what a final product should look like for us and what you guys should be checking before you hand off your work to us. All right, so your final PDFs should look something like this, right? I just want to highlight a few things for you guys to look out for. This is going to look a little bit different on my screen. See, so that hatch is there, but the more I zoom in, the hatch kind of fades away. So this should obviously be gray, but I think on my Mac, it kind of makes some of the hatches fuzzy. Anyway, so on your, what is this, demolition plan, your first sheet, right? A few things to note. So we cleaned up a few of these things last week. So I'm going to ask that you guys also take out these notes in the rooms that are not in contract, just so it's a little bit cleaner, right? So when you're cleaning up your plans, you really only need a note in the sales area, right? Other than that, you're going to keep like exterior or adjacent where the other tenants are, but all the other kind of notes in here, take them out. And then we're just going to have the NIC on top, right? So similar to the T-Mobile PDF, which we'll go to in a second. That way everything kind of fades in the background. You can also take out these turning radiuses as well. So that's important to note. I also think that graying out all of these fixtures might help. And we'll take a look at the T-Mobile plan in a minute and see if that's what they did. Just so that these, like this fixture and this part of the work that we're actually working on is what should pop up front, right? So when you think about your line weights, this is really all we need to pay attention to. Everything should just fade. Everything else should just fade into the background. I'm not saying you should fade everything out, right? Like we still need these walls and stuff to show up. But if you just keep in mind that this is what we're focusing on, this is what needs to come to the forefront. So when you PDF, it's important to check all these things because sometimes we work in CAD and then the PDF looks different. So I'm going to ask everyone to check their work before you pass it on to us. Because we want to field some of these mistakes since we're going to be moving pretty quickly. Always double check the address. I know that Mervin told you guys to fill this in. These are things that get messed up pretty quickly. You know, we might switch numbers in the zip code or anything like that. So just make sure when you're done with the project, you also just double check again. Let's see. And I think we have, is this, I think you sent me a more up-to-date PDF. Is that correct, Mervin? Okay, perfect. So I'm going to pull up an even later PDF that we can kind of look at and see. All right, so you guys should be able to see that. I'll make it larger on my screen. This is one that I think we corrected last week. Perfect. So you can see that it's a little bit more cleaned up. We want to make sure, of course, that all of this stuff is filled out as well, your initials, so that we can track it later. So that's pretty much on the first page, right? Just the tags are the most important, but just make sure that this stuff is cleaned up as well. On the second page, I think really the only thing you guys need to watch out for is kind of like we talked about, we want to make sure that this 1 and this 2 are coming forward and not behind the fixture. If they're behind the fixture, they won't show, right? And that's an easy mistake, but it's something that we want you guys to catch really quickly. In addition to little things like this, right? Like I think this dimension right here is left over from before, I think. I don't think we need that dimension. But anyway, the other thing I want to note, and we talked about this last week too with Uriel and Ashley, is there will be some plans where it's kind of unavoidable. You need some either dimensions or tags might have to kind of be over other hatches and things like that. But if you can avoid that as much as possible, we want it to be as clear as possible, right? So this kind of doesn't, it's not extremely clear to the GC when they pick up the project. There's nothing wrong with it, but if you can find a better way to organize it, I would encourage you to do that. And on this page, so the most important part on this page for them is, you know, like Mervyn said, these dimensions really are going from center of this new fixture that we're putting in to the bracket wall where they're putting it on, and to the other side of the other unit, right? That's what we're centering this piece of equipment on. So keep that in mind. That's really important. And then other than that, you always just want to make sure your elevation tag is pointed in the right direction. That's something that like gets easily missed as well, right? You also want to make sure that your elevation tag name, the C4, it should always be C4, but sometimes when you take existing drawings, on the next page, you'll see, we'll zoom out just a little bit. On the next page, you'll see that sometimes here it's noted as like B4 or something like that, right? Or A4, something different. You want to make sure this tag matches that elevation tag. So we can go ahead and just say that it should always be C4 no matter what your base drawing had beforehand, okay? Other than that, you need the same dimensions here, right? It's easier to see in elevation what you're dimensioning from, that other fixture, center of your new fixture to the end of the bracket. That's very important. That's something that T-Mobile wants both on elevation and plan. And that's really it. But really, it's like these little details that we need you guys to check, because if you find these little mistakes before we do, that means that we don't have to give you red lines. We can just upload your drawings and it's just one checked off, right? So just make sure, you know, this logo is here in everyone, the address is correct, your initials are there, all this little information is correct. Make sure that it's PDFing correctly with the right plot style, which Mervyn will show you in a second. If your plot style is correct, you know, you're more likely to not have to re-PDF it, which, to be honest, sometimes takes a while when on your remote desktop when you're publishing your sheets. So yeah, that's really it. But I want you guys to just pay attention to all of the little things, because the more that you catch once you PDF, the easier it'll be for all of us. You won't get a lot of red lines, and we'll kind of get through these jobs much quicker.
Okay, first, I'm going to send you guys an email to the plotter, and what you're going to want to do, this is the link, and you're going to find standard TMO full, and that's the one that we're going to be using. And in your drawing, you're going to want to type Styles Manager, and it's going to pop up this folder, and this is where you're going to save it. So you're just basically going to copy that TMO full from the link that I'm going to send y'all and just paste it into here. And then to put that in the sheet, and then just go up here, and it should appear in your drop down once you copy it into that folder. Then you just hit apply to layout, and it should be good to go. So publishing, publish. And since I have a lot of drawings open, I just do select all, and then I just unclick all the ones that I'm not printing. Oh. So these are the 3 sheets. Highlight them all, change this, and then you're going to want to save it into your, so this was 206. So we'll go here and into prints. And then you hit publish. Usually don't save. All right, so here's that drawing. And I don't know if I just got moved, but I can fix that. And that's pretty much it for publishing.
Yeah, so I think the important thing is where you're saving it when you publish. So I don't know, I missed that part, Mervin, but did you show them how to choose the folder to save it in through the publish
Yes.
window? Okay, perfect.
Yes.
So you guys will be saving that in the prints folder, right? I think also when you guys, after you, perfect, yeah, the prints folder for your actual job. Once you guys do that, that's when you'll open them up, look at them, make sure that there were no mistakes, right? Simple mistakes that we just talked about. Once you've reviewed that, PDF them all together, or like combine the PDF, right? So that when you pass it off to us to review, it's one PDF. That'll make it easy because again, if there are no red lines for yours, we're going to upload one PDF. We can't upload individual drawings, right? We only have one location in TBuilder where we can upload it. So go ahead, Mervin. Was there something else you wanted to show them in the Excel?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to show them that once they do that, because we're going to assign you drawings and then with the due date. And once you complete it, you just put the completion date here and that'll let us know that it needs to be QC. And that should be the final step. And you could just move on to the next one that you're assigned.
Perfect. So last thing, I'm just going to grab this.
Sure.
Realistically, once these projects are done, they might have to upload the drawings as well, like when they're done. So I'm just going to show you guys how to do that on TBuilder really quickly. So after your drawings have been QC'd and you kind of have the go ahead, if we decide that we want you guys to upload these, what you'll do is, like we talked about, search per the SAP number, right? $ SAP number. Then you'll go into this projects here, fixture rollout, like we talked about. This is what we're working on now, right? You don't want to go to any of these other ones, but what we do is we upload drawings in workflow. This is how we submit drawings, right? So we'll click in fixture rollout, under projects, fixture rollout. You want to make sure it's the one we're working on, Q4 2021. You click workflow. Don't click any of these other ones because each and every one should have a workflow under them, right, per project phase. So you really want to make sure you're in fixture rollout workflow. We'll click new. You'll go down here and yep, corporate test fit remodel. Fantastic. All right. We'll click OK here. All right. You're going to get this window. Okay. And this window is a little bit finicky. So that's why I'm recording it so that you guys can see it. Under Rogue Architects, you have all of these names. You should be able to select your own name. The really tricky thing about this is that whoever we select, they'll get the email, right? So I think, honestly, you guys should select Mervin. That way, if you guys are out, he'll get the email from TBuilder saying, Mervin, they might kick it back to you with red lines or something like that. That way you can keep track of it. So for here, I would say select Mervin. If he's not an option, I should be an option. Select me. It should probably be one of us that are in the office. File originator, you can click your name. So we're working on getting you guys TBuilder access today. So your name should be in here. So I think this would be a good place to put your own name, right? So we'll select Ashley for this. That should mean, I think, that both of you guys will get the email just in case.
Okay.
Okay. But if there are no options, if you don't see your name, select Mervin. If you don't see Mervin, select me. This just means that one of us will get an email and we'll be notified that either this was approved after you guys uploaded or sent back with red lines. The rest of this really should be filled in for you. Only the items that say required should stop you from actually submitting what you're submitting. So the rest should be done for you. If you have any notes, you can type them in here. But once we click start, you'll see on the next page that that's where we'll actually upload. And now I'm thinking if I press start, I'm going to have to revert it. So once I click start, it's going to give all these people an email that we're starting a workflow in TBuilder, which I don't want to do.
206F should be ready.
All right, perfect. 206F. And, if we get red lines on it, that's totally fine. But let's just go ahead and have this. Okay, so we're going to check. Oops. Give it a second. Okay, 206F. So that one is Kansas City, Missouri. This is the right address.
Mhm.
All right, perfect. Fixture rollout, workflow, new workflow. On here, we'll click corporate test fit remodel. And I'm going to click your name, Mervin. And did you also draw this one, or do you want someone else to be? Was it
Yeah,
Ashley or Uriel?
it was me.
It was you? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So we'll put your name there. Perfect. All right, let's start. I didn't put anything in the notes because you'll see in a second that we can add more notes here. So this is where we actually submit the drawings, right? So test fit submitted to T-Mobile, test fit out for field review. So we're going to, well, we can't click this. Okay. All right. So here's where we actually submit, right? So that's weird. Now we can click this and okay. All right, guys. Well, for now, we're not going to have you guys submit because it's not like working like everything else. Typically, there would be, you know, this button here. I would click submit. It would let me actually choose the file that we attach. Then we type in notes, you know, like first submittal for test fit and be done, submit it. I don't know why it's not working, but we have our call tomorrow, Mervin, so we should ask them about that, why we can't upload stuff. All right. So we won't worry about that part just yet, guys.